Hello everyone, my name is Elijah David, Minister of the 12th Hour, Apostolic Sabbatarian Congregation, Mount Zion, the 12th Hour in Liberty Hill, Texas. Today is June 16, 2013. It is the 8th day of the 4th month, 2017. We'll start our second service on this day with a song entitled, Because He Lives. Yah sent His Son, they called Him Yashua. He came to love, heal and forgive. He lived and died, He got my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lived. Because He lived, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. How sweet to hold a newborn baby and feel the pride and joy He gives. But greater still, the calm assurance this child can face uncertain day, because He lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. And then one day I'll cross the river, I'll fight life's fight no more with pain. And then as death gives way to victory, I'll see the lights of glory, and I'll know He lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. Hello everyone, here we are again. We're going to continue our series now on Yashua's throne. But we're going to also refer to our prayer thought. And our main subject matter is Elijah has arrived with the 144,000. Now, we're going to read to you our prayer thought taken from the 4th chapter of Malachi. There's only 6 verses, and it's all of these to meet the fulfillment right here in this 12th prayer of Malachi. We've been in for 10 years now, since 2002. It says, Behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. And all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Yashua, the Son of Hosts. who are the host. That's his redeemed saints that he's come and redeemed by his blood. That it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of the righteousness arise, with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. Now folks, think about it. Calves of the stall grow up in 1 year. But this is why this is mentioned here. We are to be restored back to the former Edenic state, when Adam himself was around 12 to 13 foot tall. And his wife, Eve, was probably around 10 or 11 foot tall. Probably at least 11 foot. And here we are shrunk down to midget size today. Over a 6,000 year period, it has taken its toll on us, the human race. And now I just stand at 6 foot myself. I'm half as tall or less than Adam was. And so, whenever we are restored back to the former Edenic state, which we are on our way, we practice health reform, we're incorporating 100% every day, getting back to 100% raw food, and so forth. That's where we're at in our home, here in Elijah's home. So now it says, when our pituitary gland that controls the hyperfunction of our body, when it is open one day, then it's going to release the hormones and so forth that are going to cause our bodies to start growing up to the former Edenic state. Okay. And the earth also will be returned back to a hyperbaric chamber type of oxygen that they had before the flood. And that's why you had such huge animals and people before the flood. It had a hyperbaric chamber type of atmosphere, which the oxygen level was much, much higher than it is today. Okay. High oxygen levels determines the growth of anything. Okay. Now in Malachi 4, and so therefore what I'm saying is, it says, ye shall go forth and grow up as calves in the stall. When that day comes, in 1 year's time, Yahweh's people are going to grow up to the former Edenic state. If I'm 6 foot, I'm going to grow up to around 11, 12 foot in 1 year. Okay? Verse 3, and ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Yashua of hosts. Now Yashua is an exterminator. He comes back to deal with judgment and justice with the inhabitants of the world. It says so in Malachi 25, 31, and 32. Matthew 25, 31, and 32. It says, when the Son of Man comes in the throne of his glory, and sits upon the throne of his glory with all the holy angels with him, then shall he call all nations and bring them down before him. And he's going to put the sheep on the right and the goats on the left. So he's going to say to the sheep, enter into the everlasting kingdom that's prepared for you from the foundation of the world. He's going to say that the goats go into outer darkness, utter perdition. So now that's what he's going to do. He's the exterminator. Even the name of the scriptures is Yeshua's names in the Hebrew. In the Old Testament scriptures, is the name for Yeshua of the scriptures is Abaddon, and in the New Testament, the Greek text is Apollyon, and in each one of those, it means that Yeshua himself is a destroyer of all of his enemies. In the New Testament, Apollyon means he's an exterminator of all of his enemies. Like it or not, Yeshua is a destroyer of those that hate him. Okay? So in Malachi 4:3, and it says, he shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Yeshua of hosts. Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel with the statutes and judgments. Now we read in our earlier study today The 144,000 remembered that law. They were taught that law. It came through as a song, and it came through to them as a new song. They sung, as it were, a new song. And that's found in Revelation 15, verse 3. That evidence. Malachi 4:5. Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yashua. Now that great and dreadful day of Yashua is right in front of us, folks. And when Yashua stands up to deliver the saints, Daniel 12:1. During this 12th parabolic hour, that saints are your first fruits, 144,000. Makes them his battle axe. At the same time that the President of the United States and the Congress passes this Mark of the Beast decree, that all should take this health care card number, and those that won't take it, that they should die. So that's going to be your decree. It says, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers unto their children, and the heart of the children unto their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Elijah's got quite a tall commission here when he comes. He's already here. He's got to put forth the message with the inspiration attached to it. Job 32:8 says, there's a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth him understanding. And in Amos 3:7 it says, Yahweh will do nothing, in that he reveals his secrets unto his servants the prophets. His secrets. Okay. So, Yahweh's not going to reveal any of his secrets in these last days, and especially about the unfolding of the prophecy, except through his chosen prophet, and that prophet will have to be Elijah, and none other. He's the only one designated and earmarked to have a complete understanding of these prophecies when they're to meet their fulfillment. Why? It's because he came through the 3 steps of the genuine movement of the Seventh-day Adventists, number 1. I was born in the Adventist Church in 1938, and I was in the first feeding pasture of Bashan, the Adventist. Even though that feeding pasture had long dried up, I was still in that one feeding pasture Bashan of the Adventist until 1970, 32 years. And then I stepped up into the next feeding pasture because I was feeding actually in Carmel, in the second feeding pasture, at the time that actually I was born in 1938 during the second feeding pasture time. That was Mount Carmel from 1930 to 1970, a 40-year period for the second feeding pasture. And I was born in 1938, right in the time of the second feeding pasture. But I grew up on the truth of the 3 angels' messages that was taught in the first feeding pasture, and that was Bashan, that the Adventists had for their first step of the genuine movement of the Seventh-day Adventists. And Bashan was taught from 1844 clear down. Well, they were teaching it when I was born in 1938. So all I knew to feed on was Bashan. I didn't know to feed on Carmel the rod, even though I was born in the time period of the second feeding pasture. I didn't know that until the feeding pasture of Carmel was over with. But I will say one thing, I met a lot of people in that feeding pasture of the shepherd rod people, and I studied with them during that time period, and I never accepted their message, but I did study with them, and I didn't know what they taught, pretty much. So when 1970 came and the second feeding pasture was over, then I met the man that was prepared, Rose W. Johnson, with the rod. He had 26 years experience, 25 years experience with the rod, and so he was the leader of the third feeding pasture, Gilead Center, Kermit, Texas, and with the message of the Isaac Branch message, entitled the Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventist, and the shepherd rod, the Carmel, the second feeding pasture, their name was Davidian Seventh-day Adventist. The third feeding pasture was Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventist. And so that's officially what I had joined, was the Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventist in 1970 at Gilead Center, third feeding pasture. So there, I don't know what I'm talking about. I was very familiar with all three feeding pastures and their doctrines, because their doctrines covered the five angels' messages, which is found in Revelation 14. Now, Sister White even says in the tract, A Word to the Little Flock. This is a facsimile written by her and her husband and Joseph Bates back in 1847. The Word to the Little Flock. She was given light on these five angels' messages way back there. And so she recorded in 1847, 3 years after the little Advent band was underfoot. Okay? And I might just turn to that and read to you a little bit about that. It says, she says on page 10 here, she said, thoughts on the Revelation 14. She said the 13th chapter of Revelation and the first 5 verses of the 14th is one connected chain of past, present, and future events down to the complete redemption of the 144,000. Then the 6th verse commences another, a chain of the events, which carry us down through the history of the Elohim's people in this mortal state. John had a view of the beast and his image, as recorded in chapter 13, and how natural it would be for him to view on a little further and see the 144,000 who had gotten the victory over the beast and over his image, standing on the Mount Zion with the Lamb. Revelation 14:1-5. So I think that the division should be between the 5th and 6th verses of the 14th chapter, and the 6th verse commences a series of events relative to the successive message of Holy Advent truth. All classes of Second Day Adventists or Second Adventist believers agree that the angel brought to view in the 6th and 7th verses of this chapter of Revelation 14 represents the Advent message unto the Adventist church and then to the world. If this is true, then all 5 of the angels brought to view in this chapter represent 5 distinct messages prior unto the Advent, or we are left without a rule to interpret this chapter. So she's telling the Adventists back in 1847 that if we're going to teach the 3 angels in Revelation 14, 1 through 6, then we're going to have to pick up on those last 2 angels in that same chapter and teach them also. Okay, the first 3 angels represent the 3 angels' messages. That the Adventists, that's all they vociferously taught for 158 years, from 1844 to 2002. They never accepted the 4th and 5th, even though Sister White told them that it needed to be taught. Okay, the 4th and 5th is your sealing angel. The 4th angel is in Revelation 7, that seals the 144,000. The 5th angel is Revelation 18:1, the one that comes down and lightens the earth with his glory. So, it wasn't time for the 4th and 5th angel to be connected to the 3rd at that time. The 4th angel connects up to the 3rd in 1930 by V.T. Harlow. Okay? He was one that announced it and identified it as belonging to the 3 angels, 1930, with a rock. Set the feeding pasture, unfolded the truth on the 4th and 5th angels, Revelation 18:1. So V.T. Harlow published that, and that's part of the latter rain of truth that he published. It's called the Spirit of Prophecy, with the 4th and 5th angel joining the 3rd. He joined all 5 of them together. Brother Johnson picked up in 1970 and continued to teach all 5 angels' messages in the 3rd feeding pasture Gilead. That's where I learned about 5 angels' messages, was from Brother Stubby Johnson, when I joined him in 1970. Okay? So now, Lindsay White goes on to say, the work of the 2nd angel was to show unto the Advent host that Babylon had fallen. Now I want to point out also, the 3 angels' messages are only teach the sincere milk of the word. Okay? But the 4th and 5th angel teaches strong meat, the 4th angel, and the 5th angel, with Rose Johnson in 1970, teaches compacted prophecy. Compacting all the strong meat together now into one book. Okay? So now we are dealing with compacted, condensed prophecy. But it's made plain. I've had someone already tell me that it is so clear the way you explain it that even a child can understand it. That's what it says here in Isaiah 24. It really actually says that when Yahweh raised up the whirlwind from of the coast, when the world crossed this great country and destroy all the inhabitants at one time, all the wicked that is, said there's going to be such a few men left that a child could write their name. Okay, that's another story. Let's go ahead. The work of the second angel was to show unto the Advent host that Babylon had fallen. And as a large portion of them did not learn this fact until the power of the midnight cry waked them up, just in time for them to make their escape from the churches that William Miller had pulled them out of from 1832 to 1844. Before the 10th day came on, the 10th day is the Day of Atonement. It follows that the second angel brought us unto the 7th month, according to the law of Moses, that's the Day of Atonement, on the 10th day of the 7th month, 1844. The third angel's message was and still as a warning unto the saints to hold fast and not go back and receive the mark which the angel band got rid of during the second angel's cry. And has not the true message for the Elohim people since the 7th month, 1844, been just such a warning? It certainly has. I cannot agree with those who make two messages of the cry, Babylon the Great is fallen, and the voice come out of her, my people, for every sermon that was printed or preached on this subject contained them both in the one message. For the 12th verse reads, here is the patient of the saints, and here are they that keep the commandments of the Elohim, etc. Where did you see them, John? The question is asked. Why? Here during the third angel. As the patient waiting time, it has been since the 7th month, 1844, since we had the cleansing of the sanctuary, Daniel 8:14, and started the judgment of the dead, Daniel 7, 9, and 10. And as a class that keep the Sabbath, etc., have appeared since that time, it is plain that we live in the time of the third angel's message. The last two angels are messages of prayer, we shall no doubt better understand them at the time of their fulfillment. Okay. So now it says these last two angels are messages of prayer. We'll no doubt better understand them at their fulfillment. Talking about the Adventists when they come to the time when these two angels are revealed and the content of their message. And they'd have to wait for the 12th parabolic hour that we're in now. They have to wait for Elijah to come, because he's the only one that's going to be able to put it all together. Okay? And I hope that will help you Seventh-day Adventists and your Davidian Seventh-day Adventists and so forth to understand more about the five angels' messages, because the three angels' messages are only taught during the judgment of the dead period. And the judgment of the dead period was a 158-year period, from 1844 to 2002. The judgment of the living period is here in the 12th hour. This is the time when you'll be made to understand all the prophecies of Daniel and Revelation. And now, having said all that, I want to acquaint you with this here, these charts. Vic Yada, with the inspiration back in the 30s, started having these charts published. Okay. We start here with this church of 7 churches. These are your 7 churches of Asia. Start with Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea, the Seventh-day Adventist church, of the 7th one. Now, the 7th one is right here. Okay, now, in Revelation 1, it talks about this true witness, Yashua, walking in the midst of 7 candlesticks, with the 7 stars in his right hand. And these 7 stars are the 7 candlesticks, or the 7 angels of the 7 candlesticks, and they are ministers. Individual ministers placed over each one of these candlesticks. Well, who was placed over the first one? Ephesus. This is Paul, first century. Who was placed over the second one? This is Martin Luther, 1500, came out of the Catholic Church with the doctrine of righteousness by faith. The third one, Pergamos. This is John Knox, the Presbyterian Church. And he came out of the Catholic Church and formed the Presbyterian Church, and he had the doctrine of the Holy Spirit. He's your teacher. Not the Pope, and not all of those predates and taught but it's Yashua. And the Holy Spirit that's your teacher. And here comes John Wesley, 1725, the Methodist from England. He got the doctrine of grace. And he's the angel of the 4th candlestick, Thyatira. And here you have right here the 5th candlestick, Sardis. And here you have Alexander Campbell the Baptist, 1810. He comes with the doctrine of baptism by the immersion. Okay. And then now you have the 6th candlestick, William Miller. Now he comes with the doctrine of the 2300 prophecy and the Kingdom of the Saints way down in 814. And he prophesied it would actually culminate there in 1844. He started that in 1833, so he's given a 10-year prophecy. He had the timeline on it. And now William Miller comes to 1844, and his message is true. He only had the first 2 angels he introduced to Ellen G. White and the little Advent band. And Ellen G. White took the 3rd angel and joined to these 2 that William Miller brought. And incidentally, William Miller was called a first-day Adventist. But he was an angel of the 6th candlestick, Philadelphia. That's Revelation 3:7. He had the keys of David. Now that's an interesting topic. Okay, now we have the keys of David shows up to, and given to one of these 7 angels that's in the hand of his true witness, Yashua, walking in the midst of 7 candlesticks. But he didn't give the key of David directly to the Adventist. He gave it to William Miller. Okay, and I'll explain to you about what those keys of David are for a little later. And now here you have it, 7 angels of the 7 candlesticks of Asia. Okay. And so that's pretty much the gist of that chart for the time being. Let's go to the next one. This is your 24-hour parabolic time clock. There's 24 hours on it. 12 hours in the night, 12 hours in the daylight. I corrected it by moving the numbers back 1 slot, making the calendar start with number 1 instead of number 12. Even though Yashua said there's 12 hours in a day, John 11:9, nevertheless, people don't know how to count. They start with number 12. You can't do that. Your 12 is the last hour of the night, or your 12 is the last hour of the daylight. But you still got to count of the whole hour. So you put the 12 back in the slot of number 11, and you put this here 12 here, from here back to the slot of number 11, it used to be right there, and you have corrected the parabolic time clock. Okay, so now, and this is called at the 11th hour, as I told you earlier. Here's another little chart right here, the Judgment and Harvest, shows Elijah on the front of it, setting the clock at 11 o'clock, and actually he's framing out the 12th hour. Okay, same thing here. I set the numbers back to 12, framing out the 12th hour. Okay, now we have my next chart. We got the 4 chariots. We got the 4 teams of horses that are depicted here between the 2 brass mountains. These 2 brass mountains represents the kingdom of grace that the apostles were in charge of. This side of the cross, there's that cross. Yashua set them up in charge of this first brass mountain. Okay, and now we have the 1260-year prophecy about the woman having to flee into the desert, into the wilderness for 1260 years. So we have, during that time period, there's 4 chariots seen coming out between these 2 brass mountains, representing 4 churches of Israel. Okay? We're interested in this 4th chariot right here, with the double span of horses, the gristle horses hooked to the lead team, and the bay horse hooked directly to the chariot. And that this 4th chariot represents the Advent of Church, Laodicea. And so it's part of, this is the only one of the 7 churches that had a great paradox in it. Whereas it had a double leadership in it, whereas all the other 6 churches before it only had a single leadership at a time. Alright, so now it says the church to and back from the wilderness. So this church here went into the wilderness, way back here, as soon as that first brass mountain was over, and it came out of the wilderness right here to start the second brass mountain. About 2,000 years apart, folks. Alright, we have this chart here. Revelation 4:6, investigated judgment. Okay, the book of the 7 seals. We're going to explain to you about the book of the 7 seals, how the first 6 books were opened in 1844 for the investigative work for the dead, from Adam clear down to 1844. All the names and records inside those books had to be investigated to see who was to have eternal life and who was not. And then in 2002 we had the book of the 7th seal open, Revelation 8:1. And so now the book of the 7th seal is for the judgment of the living. The 6th book closed out in 2002, closing out the judgment dead period for the Advent, and also the closing work for the Advent of the church. Because all their work was to do was to perform and have the investigative judgment during their time period of the dead, Daniel 7, 9, and 10. And that's all their job description was. But they're supposed to declare judgment, said. Laodicea, the Greek terminology for that is lego-dakim, meaning a people declaring judgment. What were they declaring? Adventists were declaring the judgment of the dead. That was given to them in 1844. They declared it until 2002. Okay. So now, we're declaring the judgment of the living because we have the book of the 7th seal open. Okay. Now we have the 7 trumpets. Okay, now this talks about each trumpet runs concurrently with the 7 seals. At the end of each seal's dispensation, you have a trumpet that sounds a warning to accept all the message that seal taught. Okay. In that time period, you have 7 dominions, you have 7 trumpets, you have 7 seals. There's a seal for each dominion, there's a trumpet for each dominion. The first dominion is Adam, back to creation. The 7th dominion is the 7th-day Advent. So you have the 7th dominion. And it started in 1844. Okay. Now, you have 2 groups of laborers in the vineyard in the 7th dominion with the Advent. You have those called at the 9th parabolic hour in Matthew 20, verse 5. And you have those that's called at the 11th parabolic hour, and that's in Matthew 20, verse 6. 2 groups of laborers called to labor into the vineyard in the last 3 hours of this parabolic time clock. I'll show it to you later. So, 2 groups of laborers occupy the last 3 parabolic hours on the 24-hour time clock, or on the 12-hour time clock. Okay? So the 7 trumpets, the 7th trumpet sounded in 2002, alerting the Gilead Center, Kermit Churches, that the 7th dominion was about to close for the Adventists. That we are to enter with that 5th group of laborers, Matthew 20, verse 6. Adventists were the 4th group of laborers, Matthew 20, verse 5, at the 9th hour. And Elijah David with the house of David is the 5th group of laborers in the judgment of the living period. Okay, and that's what we're in today. So now, we can go a little bit further and just start some more. Here we are, the world's history and prophetic symbols. We go back to creation. Here's the world and its original state. It's the creation, Adam and Eve, at the garden. Here it is at the first destruction of the world of the flood in 2400 BC. And here's the first kingdom this side of the flood, Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. All right. Here's the second kingdom, Babylon, Medo-Persia. Here's the third kingdom, Grecia. And here's the fourth kingdom at the cross, pagan Rome, Imperial Rome. Okay. And this is the second phase of Imperial Rome that came up in 476 AD and went into power in 538 AD and started the Inquisition for the Catholic Church that lasted 1260 years. And then here you have this here mystery Babylon woman sitting on many waters here. Many waters meaning all the nations of the world, all the peoples of the world. Okay, so she was in control of all the people of the world at the time of this beast, back 2,000 years ago. Pagan and ecclesiastical Rome occupied that time period. And they occupied that time period, Imperial Rome and ecclesiastical Rome, for a total of 1,500 years, actually terrorizing the earth. But the ecclesiastical Rome lasted on up to 1798, past 1500 AD. But the first one, he actually continues on with this leopard-like beast. Okay, and this leopard-like beast continues on with this scarlet-colored beast in Revelation 17, an image being made to him. Here's a little two-horned beast representing the United States in 1776, taking this beast right here and making an image right here to this beast right here. This is a little two-horned beast that did this, a little lamb-like beast. Okay. Now, then here we see the mystery Babylon, that during the Dark Ages, 1260 years ago, she sit on many waters. Here she is now sitting on the seven heads, meaning all church denominations collectively, here in this 12th hour. She's in control of all churches, mystery Babylon. Okay, now who is this woman, mystery Babylon? This is the President of the United States right now, Obama. Isn't he in control of all the world powers, and he in control of all churches around the world? And he brought his church forward and made it the #1 predominant church, and nobody can stop his building. Aren't they building Muslim mosques by the hundreds here in the United States and all over the world? No countries can stop them, because this woman right here is in the driver's seat. And all these 10 horns on this beast right here, the scarlet color, which appears right here, where this woman is riding this scarlet-colored beast's back, these 10 horns represents all the kings of the earth that have lent their power to this beast. And now these 7 heads used to be right here. They're now joining the 10 horns and this beast, all church denominations. And now the woman is very happy. She was transferred from controlling all churches to controlling the beast and all nations, the 10 horns and the 7 heads and all churches. And here she is. They're all paying their taxes to her. She's got the golden cup in her hand, and they're all filling her cup full of all the filthy abominations of the earth. Commercialism and everything. She gets the profits on all of it. And so now, there she is. So now, the millennium starts right here with the 7th beast, the scarlet color. He goes into perdition for 1,000 years. He emerges out here at the end of the 1,000 years. And he emerges then as the 8th beast, but he's of the 7th. Okay? And then he's resurrected, because see, he went into a lake of fire here in Revelation 19:20 on this side of the millennium. So he's resurrected at the end of the millennium. And all those that he had called to receive the mark of the beast are resurrected with him. Okay? And so they come to make war against the holy city. It's a 100-year period that they have, a 100-year period for making war against the holy city. You'll find that prophecy in Isaiah 65. And they go up to take the city one last time. The attack for this to happen is found in Zechariah 14, where all nations come against Jerusalem in these last days to take Jerusalem. All nations here at the end of the millennium do the same thing. Come one more time in the Antichrist, take the holy city. Okay, they didn't succeed the first time while they was here in the 12th parabolic hour. That's just right in front of us. That's what we call the Battle of Armageddon. That's shaping up. Zechariah 14 war, where all nations come against Jerusalem, battle and to take the city. They're all wanted of the earth. Okay? But it says that in Zechariah 14:14, it says, Judah, the house of David, shall also fight at Jerusalem during that battle. That's me. That's me, the head of Judah, the lawgiver. Yashua is the invisible head, but I'm just saying he's appointed his visible servant so that the world can see that this kingdom is a literal kingdom here on earth, and that's why he has a visible servant, Elijah David. So that the world will say, well, actually, this is a literal visible kingdom. It's just like any other kingdom that exists on this earth. Because they got a visible leader, and they got subjects that are tithe payers to them, and they have a government, they have a creation calendar, they have that governs their yearly life, okay, and it governs their sanctuary service that they perform their ordained system of true worship at their appointed time. So this is a literal kingdom, this kingdom of David. Yashua is the power behind it because he sits upon the throne of David. That's Luke 1:32. He sits upon the throne of David. Now, so there you have it in that chart. Okay. And you have another one here, the truth and the host underfoot, Daniel 8. And this is another prophecy that we can deal with as we come to each one of these charts. I'm going to try to give every one of these charts, and I'm going to try to give a study on every one of them individually. So the Heavenly Father has given me the inspiration to understand every one of these prophetic charts and to be able to articulate and teach them to the world. This is proof that this is truly the true office of Elijah, that he has truly come. Once this information breaks forth on the stage of the world, then the whole world is going to know that this is where it's at. All right? This is Babylon, the image that Nebuchadnezzar saw and Daniel interpreted. This is that same image being struck on the feet by that little stone, Daniel 2:44 and 45. That was shewn out of this mountain out of the hands. And this mountain is the Seventh-day Adventist Church. This is the house of David, that's speaking to you right now, that is shewn out of this mountain. And then it says in Zechariah 4:7, the prophecy says that mountain was planed off. Okay? Showing that the Adventist Church only had the period from 1844 to 2002, just only the Judgment of the Dead period. And once that was over, she's planed off, don't need her no more. Okay? So those stone grows into a mountain and fills the whole earth. You don't just fill a little bit of it. It fills the whole earth, this little stone here. And that's his kingdom of David that's speaking to you right now. Alright? And then you have the Old and New Testament history depicted by the one family. Hosea 1 and 2 depicts these two families. And one of the Old Testament, Jezreel, Rama, and Lo-Ami. And the New Testament is Jezreel, Ro-Amma, and Ami. In other words, the apostles are represented by these three here on this side of the cross, and the Jewish nation represented these on the other side of the cross that rejected Yashua. Okay. Now here we have the period with the Bible. That was the up to Moses coming out of Egypt. You had the period without the Bible. That was from creation period down to 1500 BC until Moses was sent to get the children of Israel out of Egypt, and then he started writing the Bible, compiling the first 5 books of the Law of Moses. That would constitute the writing of the Bible. So the light came up then on Yahweh's Word, in the written Word. And that was in 1500 BC, 3,500 years ago. And this prophecy made its fulfillment. The transfer from the period of the dark to the period of the light. Okay? In other words, this represents 12 symbolical hours of the night. This right here from 1500 on for 3,500 represents the symbolical period of the day. Or they're not 12 hours of the day, John 11:9. Alright? So now, we have this woman with the 12 stars representing the 12 apostles, representing the 12 sons of Jacob. That was the type of the 12 apostles. And they're on this woman's head. This woman represents the pure church, all the way from the Garden of Eden. And we see the dragon representing Satan with 7 heads and 10 horns on his head, meaning he's in charge of all nations in his day at the cross. And he's in charge of all churches, all those 7 churches I just showed you a while ago, starting with Ephesus, ending with Laodicea. That was the church that he was in charge of. The 7 churches of Israel that had the 7 candlesticks at the cross. This old red dragon, Satan, was in charge of it. And so that wasn't enough, though. He stood before the woman, of course, she's about to give birth to the Messiah, Yashua, the Jewish nation was, and he stood before her to devour the man-child as soon as he was born, and so forth. That's what he was doing there, facing the woman. Okay. Now, here's this woman with 2 great eagles, wings of an eagle, reaching all the way from the Garden of Eden, clear down to the end of time, 6,000-year period. This wing right here represents the Old Testament. This wing here represents the New Testament period. And this is that woman that went into the wilderness for 1,260 years. And she emerges today in Revelation 12. She's got the 12 stars, which represents the 12 apostles, which has their name of the 12 foundations of the holy city. And so 12 means government of Yahweh, simply what that means. And so the 12 apostles represents Yahweh's complete government. All right? Now, that's called a living church. This is a living church up from the Garden of Eden flowing down to the end of time. We've always had the living church presence there. All through time. Yeah, we got the whole of the 4 winds. I gave that to you in my last study in Revelation, chapter 7, talking about hold the 4 winds until we have sealed the servants of Elohim in the forehead. Here are these 4 winds, right here. Wind 1, wind 2, wind 3, and wind 4. Stand on the 4 corners of the earth. Okay. So now these angels were commanded to hold the winds, starting the judgment of the living in 2002. Okay. They have been about to blow ever since. During this 12th parabolic hour, ever since 2002. Okay. And they're still trying to blow right now, but Yahweh says they can't blow until the 144,000 are sealed right here. The first fruits, Laodicea. So the 144,000 comes out of Laodicea, says that next year, and they're sealed. Then the great multitude comes next, but then the 4 winds are commanded to blow, but not until you have the 4 angels with the 4 swords in Revelation 7, also saying they were given to hurt. Who are they going to hurt? They're going to hurt these 4 angels that are wanting to blow to hurt the saints here on the earth. Okay, so now you have 4 angels coming to the saints' defense, fighting against these 4 angels that want to release the winds to destroy these saints right here. The first fruits and the second fruits. That's what Satan is after. He wants to try to stop the harvest of the first and second fruits of the living. All right, now we're in the harvest period and the close of probation. Okay, on this right here. And so there's a lot of explanation to be done by here. And I'm just going to tell you right now that I'm just going to dispense with trying to explain each and every one of these right now a little bit. I'm just going to show you that we have that one. And these right here, these beasts right here that are destroyed at the brightness of his coming, comes at the end of the plagues, at the end of the world. All of those that didn't, that survived the plagues in the last days, all the nations that survived the plague, they are destroyed by the brightness of his coming. And then begins the millennium. Okay, we have this right here, the Feast of Tabernacles chart. We have the 12 months here, showing a 1-year period. And we have the explanation of the harvest, according to the harvest rites of the sanctuary for Israel, starting with the first month, March, which actually which is right, it should be right there. But number 1 should be right here. Instead of 12 should be right here again. I've corrected that on another chart. But anyway, the first month starts with March. That's the 3rd month on your Gregorian calendar of the year. And so anyway, that's so much for that. Now we have this one right here, the spirit of prophecy, type of the temples type and antitype. Spirit of prophecy is a volume of letters of Ellen G. White and B.T. Holler. In the Spirit of Prophecy books by Ellen G. White, the former ran, B.T. Holler wrote the latter ran in the Shepherd Rod book. Okay, we've got two trees here, two olive trees, they're twins. One's on one side, the golden bowl, and the other's on the other side. This golden bowl is the Spirit of Prophecy. Okay. Zach pointed out in Zechariah 4. And these two olive trees are also the two witnesses here in Revelation 11. And so we'll explain that at a later time, the temple types, type and antitype. Here's a chart on the flood. Okay, the flood, that 1 year of the flood, everything that happened in that 1 year of the flood depicts us clear into the millennium. Gives us a time line there for at the end until the end of the millennium. Okay, here we have the ceremonial harvest and its significance right here. We have the judgment dead starting in 1844. We have the judgment living starting in 2002. But Victor House did not know the time for it to start. But he knew the time for the judgment dead to start, but he didn't know when the time for the judgment dead to close and the judgment living. But he just put judgment of the living, probation, closed, etc. So he didn't know to put in the 12th parabolic hour, but we're upgrading that now and putting names, places, faces, and dates on these prophecies. Okay, for the 12th parabolic hour. Okay, here's a chart of the 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. With Yashua was he in the grave for 72 hours, 3 days and 3 nights, or was he in the hands of man for 72 hours and only spent 18 hours in the tomb? And that's all he did. He spent about 18 hours in the tomb. Okay. And now it says right here. And so that pretty much explains about 18, I think it's about 18 charts there. And we're just about taking the whole hour to do that, folks. And that's all right. That needed to be done because I wanted to whet y'all's appetite. So we're going to get a series of studies on each one of those charts. It's probably going to take us several months to do it, but we're going to put them all up on YouTube. And we're going to establish conference and calling once a week. For all you folks out there in the world that has questions, that wants to call in on conference calls. And so we're going to do that also. And we're going to try to get that going as soon as we can. And we got videos. We're making videos. I'm making a video right now of this study. And we're uploading it to YouTube. So you can click on our YouTube and we'll give you the call handle for that. And you can see these sermons every day, or you can click on our website, 11thhourcall.com, and you can click on my message that we upload for the CD every day. So we're going to make this available for everybody in the world to have access to. Okay, this, actually, I've got a few more minutes before we bring this to a close. I want to introduce this chart once again, the judgment and the harvest. This is what we're going to be doing after we get through with this Mountain Zion at the 11th hour. We're going to show you the judgment and the harvest in this 12th parabolic hour that we're in right now. And there's a whole lot of more new light to come out on this subject. And so, folks, as I told you before, I've spent 43 years preparing for this. I've been studying these prophecies for 43 years. So that's a long time. I didn't know why Yahweh called me to have to spend so many long years just getting ready to teach Elijah's message here in the last days when I didn't even know that I was to have Elijah's message to teach here in this 12th hour. I thought we'd be in the kingdom 40 years ago. Whenever I first joined Gilead Center in 1970, Brother Son, he said we were going to be in the kingdom by 1974. Well, I thought that's a short time, boy. It don't take long to join the kingdom here in the earth and then transfer to the land of Israel in 4 years. So that was what I was taught then, but it didn't happen. Now I understand why. But that's not relevant right now. What's relevant is what's unfolding in the way of present truth. And Yahweh has given me to understand all the prophecies as it comes time for them to unfold. So the world is in for a treat. This is what's going to save the world from this mass destruction that's being planned by this beast. That are fast articulating their plans every day, and they're working 24/7 on their plans to destroy this world, and especially the saints. That's who they're really targeting, is the saints. 144,000, and the first fruits and the second fruits, as I showed you a while ago. So now, we have, as I said, Mount Zion to 11th hour. We didn't get much into that track at all, of V.T. Harvest. But we will continue on as our series. We get through here, and then we're going to pick up the judgment of harvest. We may interweave some of this information between the two of them in our next study. There's a lot of important things to have to bring forth at this time. It has to do with present truth and where we're at in the stream of time. But remember, we're going to have it announced to where you can call in on conference calls once a week, and maybe twice a week if it demands it. We'll be sitting here to answer your questions and so forth, and that you have worldwide. And so we're going to also, like I said, we're going to have all these things put on YouTube, and we have them going now, and we're going to have them put, we have them on our website in CD form. You can listen to the audios every day, and so forth. This brings the end of our study for this hour. You can contact us at the 11thhourcall.com. That's number 11. Click on our audio archive to hear these messages and more. We're going to close now with a song entitled, What a Friend We Have in Yashua. What a friend we have in Yashua, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a memories to carry, everything to your in prayer. Oh, what please me often forfeit, oh, what needless pain we bear, oh, because we do not carry everything to your in prayer. Every trials and temptation is a trouble anywhere. We should never be discouraged. Take it to the yard in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share? Yashua knows our every weakness. Take it to the yard in prayer. Are we weak and heavy laden? Come good with the Lord of care. Precious Savior, still a refuge. Take it to the yard in prayer. Who thy friends despise forsake,